Welcome to episode 199 of the Work Shoot Wrestling Podcast on the FamDude Network. This is Corey Richmond, joined by Jason Brooks. Jason, welcome back to episode 2 of the reemergence of a podcast that I didn't know you'd ever be doing again. How you doing? How's Chicago doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. The weather's okay. Just finished a nap. That's good. Just kind of putting finishing touches on buying this condo and working and doing my thing. So pretty good.
Who knew Orange Cassidy actually knew how to wrestle?
I mean, the tag match was one of the best matches I've ever seen, but that Orange Cassidy match was just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Now, the good thing is, right, we don't need to have him do that every week to make it mean something, but it was unbelievable.
And we all know Jim Cornette, still not a fan, but we can move on from that. But AEW NXT had another interesting week of going up against each other. I would not be surprised if, once again, AEW won the week, but I think this was by far NXT's most competitive show over the last couple of weeks. I was a little wary with them doing 2 cage matches in one show. I thought that the women's cage match was the better of the 2, but the more noteworthy. And I do think that going into NXT Tampa, I do think we truly got a true direction of what they might be doing with Dream versus Adam Cole, which on paper I don't think will be the best wrestling match that NXT's put on a network special, but I think it could be a really entertaining one. What's your thoughts on Dream versus Cole, maybe as your headliner for NXT Tampa?
Yeah, I think this would be interesting to see what kind of wrestler Adam Cole is. He's wrestled really, really good people for a while. Gargano, Ciampa, Balor. Dream's a solid wrestler, but he's still only a couple years into the business. So he's still working on getting better. So I think this will be an interesting case to see where Adam Cole is in terms of, I don't want to say carrying an opponent, but helping them out, helping them along the way. I think they could tell a good story. They're both really good on the mic. So I think that could be interesting either way. Interesting that they have Dream lose the match and then now he's going for the title. So kind of protect Strong a little bit. I don't think anyone even cares about the result of that match. I thought the cage matches could have been better. Yeah, I think back to the Dakota Kai. I think back to the Io Shirai Shayna Baszler match, cage match. I thought that match was unbelievable, and I was hoping these two would kind of live up to that match, and it really didn't. I thought they were fine, but I didn't think they were great cage matches.
Really, I didn't love in-ring wise the Roderick Strong match, but I actually did like the Dakota Kai match.
I think the women's match was definitely better. Absolutely better. A great match though.
But you know what? I do think I don't think we'll ever say it's just going to be the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, feud that we want to see these people face each other forever, and it's going to be that iconic. But I do think that these 2 women will be associated with each other for the next 5-10 years, as long as they're in the same company. And whenever they're, in the ring together, I think we're always going to be like, these 2 people hate each other, and they'll always be associated with each other. And I think they're continuing to build that legacy with each other. And I think when I first saw them together, I never thought that, but the more that the chemistry together, I think it's starting to really pick up and work.
Yeah, and I think what they're doing with Raquel Gonzalez, right?
Mm-hmm.
I liked how they finished the match. She definitely is a standout in terms of the powerhouse, in terms of the women. I didn't think about it, but seeing her next to Dakota Kai, she's a lot bigger than her. She's a really, really big woman, and she plays that kind of Diesel to Shawn Michaels character pretty well. So I thought it was a good match, and I did like the ending. And it definitely protects Tegan Knox while making Dakota Kai look good. And it's something they can continue to go back to. I do agree with you. They could make it a kind of Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens thing where they They go back to it every now and then. Gargano and Ciampa, they can go back to the feud anytime they want to. One person can be the heel, one person can be the babyface. They can go back to it anytime they want to. It'll be interesting to see what they do here. I mean, is Dakota Kai someone who they want to see have go for the title after WrestleMania? So yeah, we'll see how things go. But I did definitely enjoy the match. I just didn't think it was great.
And like I said, most weeks when we, as you said in the past, even though we haven't been doing the show for the last 2 years, talking on the phone, one of the things that we have spoken about is majority of weeks, NXT is the better wrestling show. AEW is the better show as an overall product. And I think you would agree that this week, NXT was the better in-ring product. But I think, once again, AEW was most likely the better overall show. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't think it's not even close. And I think the thing is, it's always going to be harder for NXT because of the stars that AEW has. They have Cody Rhodes, Jericho, and Moxley. And I love NXT. I love Balor. I love Adam Cole. I love those guys. They're just not where those guys are. Those guys are superstars. NXT has stars. And so, yeah. So it's always going to be difficult for them to really outman them. But I think AEW has really, really started to have a consistently good show the last few weeks.
And, we kind of buried the lead, but the one thing that really, I think, stood out was that crafty veteran. Once again, they're bringing a guy from the past, not to be in ring like WWE does with, the part-timers, but they brought in Jake the Snake Roberts, one of the legendary promo guys, with a great 3-minute promo, bringing in who's he going to manage. We're not seeing him in the ring. He brought that emotion, 20 years of, trying to feed his demons. We've seen it, from Beyond the documentary Beyond the Mat with the DDP yoga stuff. He's finally apparently clean. You had that raw emotion of his great promo. You're wondering, is it going to be, Brody Lee, the former Luke Harper? Is it going to be Lance Archer? Is it going to be a guy we don't know of, a new guy? But from one day, for 3 minutes, you're interested in a guy who's going to come in to feud with Cody until we go back to MJF. 3 minutes, you're interested in a new guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Arn Anderson thing where he's the head coach is like really corny, but I like the idea that they're trying to do kind of a bridge from the older guys to the new guys. They're trying to put the old guys over a little bit, give them roles. They can be really, really useful, not just backstage producers. So I like that they're trying to figure roles out for them. And I like that they're trying it. Some stuff's going to work. I think Arn Anderson as a head coach is really corny. I think Jake Roberts as a manager for someone could be really dope. So I like that they're trying to do that. And the promo was very good yesterday. And I'll be curious to see where they go. I mean, Cody's getting buried here. I don't want to say buried. He's burying himself here between the neck tattoo and MJF, and between Jake Roberts making him look like a fool. Cody's definitely not looked good. But if anyone can take these losses, it's him. He's the most over guy, other than Moxley and Jericho, in the company. And, we saw that. He lost to MJF. The crowd didn't give a shit. I mean, they were chanting for him and cheering for him the whole time during his promo. So if anyone could take these losses, I think it's him, or take these losses / jabs.
Of the Brody Lees, the Lance Archers, even the slight rumors I was hearing late last night on Twitter and different podcasts. Who do you even maybe him being the actual exalted one in the Dark Order? What would you like to see?
Wait, who? You didn't say who?
Jake the Snake Roberts. Where would you like to see? Who would you like to be in the match for? Would you like to see him be the exalted one? Would you like him to be the mouthpiece for a Brody Lee, for a Lance Archer, for someone who we've already seen, a heel guy? What would you like to see him be?
Oh, gosh, it's kind of coming out of nowhere with that. I mean, we would think it'd be Brody Lee, Luke Harper. And they're also positioning him to – I don't think it's the Dark Order. I would think it'd be Lance Archer, or it would be Brody Lee, Luke Harper. Because the Dark Order is talking about – Jake Roberts is talking about one guy. going against Cody Rhodes. And it'd have to be a big guy. It'd have to be someone who's important because they're having him go against the second biggest babyface in the company. So it could be Lance Archer or Brody Lee. I'd side toward Brody Lee because I think I see Lance Archer being more of a mid-card guy who gets some wins here and there, whereas I think Brody Lee could really be, a top guy in AEW. That's my personal opinion. And I love Lance Archer, but I think if you're building one up to be a future main eventer in AEW, I think Brody Lee has that potential, maybe a little more than Lance Archer does.
Actually, I think both could be main eventers, and I think both could be pretty big heels in a company that is, I think at times, is babyface heavy. So, I mean, I see what you're saying there, but I think either guy, I think Lance Archer at times could be a better promo than Brody Lee. So, I mean, I think Brody Lee can use a Jake Roberts more as a mouthpiece. So, I mean, I think that Brody Lee most likely is the better choice of the two. So, I'll agree with you more on Brody Lee most likely being the guy for Jake the Snake on that end. Another thing that really stood out for me on AEW quickly was the formation of the new trios group with the Lucha Brothers and Pac, who I know that we both love Phoenix and Pentagon, but I really think that the Lucha Brothers have gotten really lost as a mid-level tag team, and we all love Pac, and Pac is awesome, but they really had to do something with the Lucha Brothers, and I think this might be something to get them back to being relevant. I don't know if you disagree on that one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I love all three of those guys. If you could say your top 10 favorite guys in AEW, they would be among the three for sure. So I think it could be interesting. I think Pac is a tremendous, tremendous heel, and I think he can even help those guys out. So yeah, no, I think it's a great trio. They're all badasses in the ring, and I hope they explain a little bit more like why they're together, what brought them together. I want to see more stories with them, not just, hey, we're a group now and we're just going to kick everybody's ass. Like, why are they together? Let's do some vignettes and promos in the back. So, I think there's no reason why the group couldn't be great if they're booked right.
And the one last thing, I guess, that I thought they really did well last night at AEW was Darby Allin. Yes, it's hard to say that homegrown guys for a company that's only been around for 5 months and everyone's an indie. People are always growing from somewhere else on independence. But Darby Allin truly is, I think, their first homegrown talent. And Darby Allin, once again, he's a star. I mean, if he was in the WWE, he would just be a 205 guy and this goofy gimmick of a guy who paints half his face and everything else. But once again, for 14 minutes, he went and showed this dynamic range of being a guy who, even with that one spot of where he basically tagged himself in and to make his own high spot of that tag, and he got that energy in and all these things he does as this super small guy. I mean, he had the crowd in his back of his hand the whole time. I mean, he's amazing in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, you and I, when I come home from work. I'll call you. We'll talk about wrestling before our podcast. How AEW is not creating enough stars. I think the biggest star they may have created is Adam Page. I don't think he was a star before he joined the company. I think he was a guy before he joined the company. Now he's a star. Yeah. But Darby Allin, grown guy, I mean, the crowd loves him. The crowd absolutely loves him. You're right. He is a star. I thought that match was tremendous. To have a handicap match be that good, it was great. It was great. And it helps that someone like Jericho really makes people look good. He knows how to make guys really, really look good. So, yeah, it was a great, great match. And probably the match of the night, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that. AEW, like I said, I don't think it was their best show. I think they've had much better shows since the new year, but good, solid show, match progressions. I thought coming off for the pay-per-view, I think it was a good continuation. Quickly, just last couple things on NXT before we move on. I think NXT really did well was they finally, I think, are starting to get a direction heading into a month before NXT Tampa, which is a show that could get overshadowed by WrestleMania. But I think we have a direction here. I think we're going to have a 3-way tag team match for the tag team titles with the young crafty. What are they? The young crafty
grizzled young veterans.
Which I think they're really good. I think we're gonna.
I think they're really. I love that guy on the mic, man. He is awesome. He is great. They're really, and I like that the one guy literally doesn't talk at all, but they're both really, really talented. I'm a big fan of their tag team for sure.
I think we're gonna get a 3-way with them. I really, we're gonna get Gargano versus Ciampa, and I really think that sit-down interview was really good. I mean, I think we're starting to see that his character with Gargano is slowly breaking. He realizes he thinks he's the good guy in this story, even though he's, I guess, the bad guy. I thought that sit-down interview was really well done. I think that like I said, I think we're gonna get Dream versus Cole for the title, which, like I said before, I don't know if it's gonna be the greatest wrestling match we've ever seen, but I think that's a really good story.
Yeah, but Dream's had some really good matches. I mean, his Aleister Black match was tremendous. His match with Tyler Breeze was really good. He's had some really, really good matches. So I think it'll be a really good match. Again, it's hard because his TakeOver main events have been so amazing, but I suspect it'll be a very good match.
I guess we're gonna get either a 4 or 5-way match for the number 1 contenders for the women's title, for the ladder match, which should be solid with Chelsea Green in the first spot. I'm sure Bianca Belair will be in it, and a couple of other people. So that should be fun. I guess we'll get like 1 or 2 other matches. I guess we'll get a North American title match, which I'm not sure what direction they're going to go there. I don't want to see a rematch with Dijak.
So maybe it's a 4-way, fatal 4-way. I mean, fatal 4-way, a threat match. I don't know if that. I don't know if that makes sense to have all those different kind of matches, but that's kind of what they're setting up for.
So, I mean, like I said, on paper, I mean, all of these takeovers look good, but like I said, I think they finally have a direction, so I like that. So, I mean, like I said, for the first time in a couple of weeks, NXT look like they're there, and it's a good sign. So I think that's good stuff going on there.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else on the Wednesday Night Wars you want to get into before we move on to some less awesome stuff?
Yeah, just Austin Theory and Swerve, just such good athletes. I mean, that's the evolution of wrestling, that match. And it was only 7 minutes, and Theory won, and it'll be a throwaway match. No one will care about it in a couple weeks, couple months, next week, whatever. But like, that's the evolution of wrestling. Have 2 guys who are such good, tremendous athletes. They could have went for another 10 minutes. And it's interesting to see a match like that, because that's really where we're going with wrestling. Have guys that athletic in the ring. Would have liked to see Swerve win, but it's fine. But yeah, that was a really fun match. So a nod to those guys for sure. Very, very big potential in those 2.
Oh, before I forget, congratulations on the new champions this week. Dickie Dice or Vice, whatever his name is. We have a new champion apparently. We also ROH decided to take the title off of PCO. Roosh is now the champion. Interesting to see where that goes in the coming weeks. We complained about last week that you had to be a senior citizen apparently to hold the world title, and PCO apparently is no longer champion. Jericho no longer has a title. We'll see if WWE decides to go in that same manner. When it comes to WrestleMania, so we're getting younger a little bit. Ricky Starks unfortunately got lost in the shuffle in that memo, but let's see where we go on that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
What was your thoughts though on PCO no longer champion? Do you think it's the right direction?
Corey, I'll be honest with you. Ring of Honor is hard for me because they don't really have a good weekly show to keep up with stuff. Why did Roosh win the title? Yeah, I know he's got this stable with his brother and Kenny King, but why have him win the title? And what was it, like a house show or something? Was it a big event? And it's just so overshadowed by AEW. So I don't know. I really have trouble with Ring of Honor. I really do. And I loved their show for a long time. When they had a good, solid weekly show, I really enjoyed it. But they haven't been relevant in a long time. And I think That's a subject for us to talk about like another time. I don't think we should get into that. I think we should move on. But I think that is an interesting subject to talk about. And NWA, I think that's something we can talk about another time. I'm a big NWA fan, obviously.
The reason why I did bring this up, because I wanted to bring up the NWA Power for 1 minute. That's actually why I wanted to bring that up quickly.
Okay.
I wanted to give, because you watch NWA Power every week, I'm starting to get into NWA Power. And I know it's not on the rundown, but it just did pop in my head, so I do apologize. But I wanted to give them credit for something.
Corey, by the way, guys, Corey he hates a run. So whenever we get ready for the show, it's basically Corey off the end of his pants giving me questions I have no idea and I'm prepared for. So I see the traditions of the podcast back. Go ahead.
I wanted to give them credit for something, and also NWA Power, I think, is a very interesting show. They've been doing a lot of good stuff in regards to being on YouTube, getting their product out there.
I mean, who's watch? What are people watching more of every week? The NWA or Ring of Honor? What product is hotter? The NWA or Ring of Honor?
I'm thinking NWA.
I don't think it's even close.
But this is why I brought this up, because the NWA, their champion Nick Aldis, is apparently good. Was supposed to face PCO at Supercard of Honor for their title, and I thought it was being, I guess, slightly promoted on NWA Power, that they were doing run-ins and everything was going on in that respect.
No, that wasn't really. Not really. That wasn't a big part of the TV at all. They've been building up for I think the PCO match is something maybe they're building more. They haven't really talked. I don't know if they've talked about the PCO. They said that he's going to be there, and maybe they've mentioned it, but it hasn't been a big part of it. This is all about Marty Scurll. That's the match that they've mentioned.
Because I was going to say was, the thing that's interesting is that NWA, I think, is getting a lot more out of this ROH situation than ROH is getting out of this NWA situation, where someone like you who likes the NWA Power is watching NWA because Marty Scurll is involved there, and you become more interested, I think, because of Marty's interest, because of Marty, than Nick Aldis going there and now costing, PCO the title and everything else. Like, it's not going the other way around. NWA fans aren't going to ROH.
Well, but I think but we talked about that, right? They don't have a consistent TV. If they were on YouTube every week, like NWA is on YouTube, and they have a good weekly TV show, they certainly have the talent to have it. I definitely would watch Ring of Honor, and then I think you could get a lot out of it. I think Strictly Business, I like Tom Lattimore a lot. I think Nick Aldis is good. So, yeah, I think they can definitely get something out of him. NWA does have some talented people. Thunder Rosa is awesome. So they do have some talented people. What am I watching Ring of Honor TV? What am I watching? Old shows from 2 months ago? Old pay-per-views from 2 months ago? Yeah, I don't feel like I'm getting a lot out of it. So I think NWA is getting more out of it, but I think that's because of how NWA is marketing their product. I think they're doing a much better job.
And the other thing I want to give credit for, and very quickly, they had a tag team match on the show this week where it was a loser loses their contract match. And the way that Stu Bennett and the other announcer, Joe Galley, described the match on the idea that there's limited space on the roster, and the winners of the match keep their job because there's limited space, truly made me, for the first time, care about the idea of wins and losses actually mattered there, where, like I said, there's limited space. If you don't win, there's not enough room for you to be there. And I thought that actually mattered, and it made stakes in the company and stakes for me to care about the Dawsons versus C.W. Anderson, Caleb Conway or something the guy's name was. I actually, for the first time in, a decade, or 2 decades, I cared about C.W. Anderson.
Yeah, I think NWA, listen, they don't have the level of talent that AEW has, that NXT has, that even Ring of Honor. I think Ring of Honor probably up and down the roster have much better guys in terms of just in-ring talent. NWA doesn't have anyone like Jay Lethal or Jonathan Gresham or Roosh or Dragon Lee. They have nobody like that, But it's really smart TV. They do a nice job of building up their product. So yeah, and storylines like the loser leaves town match, they just do a really, really good job. And I'm happy that they have this show every week. I think Stu Bennett actually might be an upgrade over Cornette. So I think their broadcasts have been good. It's been a very, very quality show.
And like I said, we'll talk more about NWA Power the weeks to come. I just wanted to give them the credit. And also, like I said, they did a good job about promoting, not this week, but next week, Superpower, I think it's called. They're going to have a big show on 3/17, which I would say everybody should go out of their way to check out because Camille will be having her debut, and looks like they're promoting that show pretty well. So I'm going to give them credit. NWA Power, something to check out. Not for everybody, but I think it's actually been pretty good. And like I said, it's been pretty good. So moving on to Monday Night Raw, we've got a month until WrestleMania. I'm not sure that the whole show was good, but like I said, there were moments that were good. And something that has interested me, I'm one of those guys, I think you'll agree with me, the main event of WrestleMania should be a title match, but Randy Orton versus Edge, I think, has been the most interesting thing that WWE has done. Yes, they want to make, Drew McIntyre the next big thing and his countdown to the Claymore kick to be huge. And it got over the idea of him, nailing Brock Lesnar a couple times. But the raw emotion when Randy Orton cares, that final segment was gripping. And Randy Orton main event, I would not say no.
Here's the thing. Randy Orton's been pretty good for a long time. So the thing with Orton is his matches are pretty good. In terms of him developing his character over the last year or so, I'd say, since the Kofi Kingston feud, which I thought was tremendous as well, that feud was a lot of fun and a really, really good story they told. And this is the same thing. Orton now is older. He's been around a long time. So now he has all this history that he can draw from in his stories. And so when he has an interesting storyline, it's really, really good because he can draw from a lot of history. They've talked about, I think Dave Meltzer pointed this out, how Edge and Randy Orton themselves are a very big part of this storyline. The Randy Orton meeting Edge in 1999, like that's true. Mm-hmm. And that's a story that they wanted to put in there. So Edge and Orton have themselves. So I think Orton has become this really creative mind in terms of wrestling now. And so his matches, they're fine. But I think his storytelling is really, really getting better in terms of storylines and things like that. And I mean, this is one of the best W storylines. And I mean, taking NXT aside, obviously, I mean, I can't think of a better storyline for WWE in the last year. It's been really, really good, really, really gripping. And interested to see where they go.
So what do you think, though? Would you go? Do you think a title match has to go and be the main event?
We always talk about this. I mean, I don't really care what the main event is. I think it'll be a world title match. I think it always should be. I don't think it really matters where you put it on the card. It'll be a big match no matter what. What was it? Undertaker Triple H match? Was that the actual main event years ago? I feel like there's been one or two matches that were the main events that were not title matches, but generally it's always a title match. And I think it will be again, which is fine. But to me, it doesn't matter what you end the show with. As long as there'll be a show, which we've gotten confirmation that there'll actually be a show. Thank God.
Yeah, Wednesday they did say that they're going ahead with the show. I know last week when we spoke, they were a little hesitant, but they have officially said they will be going on with the show.
I think the only thing, Corey, that could make this worse is we have our lovely vice president in charge of the coronavirus, which terrifies me. But I mean, unless this really, really spreads and gets worse, which I mean, it's likely to. It'll be interesting to see how that. We talked about it last week in Japan, how they're canceling shows. Italy canceled schools. These cases are really rising. So I still think there's an off chance that WrestleMania could be canceled or moved or something like that if we just get all these cases in the next month. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to see where they go. One thing that has made the internet very interested is a guy who's super talented, who, when he came to WWE, people were scared about his size, wasn't sure how far he would go. And for a while, I was scared. You were scared.
I wasn't scared about his size. I was
I
never
know
scared about
how
his
far
size.
he could go based
No,
on.
I wasn't scared about his size. Shawn Michaels the champion. I'm not scared about his size. I was scared. Could he get his character over? Could he talk enough?
Well, Prince Puma did apparently got a lot farther along than Ricochet has, and Ricochet hasn't exactly had the
Yeah,
best.
Prince Puma didn't talk either.
Exactly. But Ricochet, good luck, did not continued not to be very good on Monday, where he lost his shot at the 24/7 title against a guy who had maybe 2 wins in his whole time in NXT. Riddick, what is it, Riddick Moss or whatever his name is?
Yeah, I mean, God, Corey. I thought that if Ricochet got better on the mic, that he would be a future world champion because he's great in the ring. He's a good-looking guy. He seems like a really nice guy. I thought he'd be like a natural babyface. And I thought if he could get his character over enough, his wrestling would be able to carry him through the rest. And, I mean, Corey, I'll be honest with you. His promos are awful. They're awful. He has not gotten better with his promos. In the ring, he's still great. He's still Ricochet. His promos are terrible, though. The superheroes are real. It's so corny. The audience is turned off. When we talk about Vince burying guys, it's always, whatever. We're always mad. The internet always gets upset about it. Burials are hard, and, I don't know. These guys all work really hard and bust their ass to get where they get to. So I struggle with the concept of, oh, this guy sucks. Get rid of him. But they got to, I think Ricochet's got to do something else. They have to do something else with him. I don't think he should go back to NXT. But we talk about what they do at AEW with Jake Roberts, how he's a manager, he needs a manager. He needs something. But once he started talking about superheroes being real, I knew he wasn't long for this. Because that's such a corny line. That stuff does not get over anymore. This isn't the 1980s. I think in the 1980s, he'd be an IC champ till the day is long. But now in 2020, you need characters who are real. Who is Ricochet? What is he? Other than being a great high flyer, what do we know about his character? Nothing. We don't know anything about him. And he's been on Raw for forever, And that's just a big problem. We know nothing about his character. We don't even know if he has a character. Apparently, he's a superhero like Captain Marvel. So I love Ricochet. I've talked about him. We probably talked about him when we did the show before, how big of a fan I was of his. Maybe he should have stayed in NXT a little longer. Maybe he should have tagged with Aleister Black a little longer. But I just don't see where they go from here unless he does some major development with this character. And he's just so corny. He's so corny. So I don't know. I don't know where they go with him. Why have him lose to Riddick Moss doesn't make sense. Why have him lose? Put Kurt Ryder out there or something. That's the part that to me seems ridiculous. Why have him lose to Riddick Moss, who no one even knows who the guy is? That doesn't make sense to me. In terms of Ricochet not being on Raw for a little bit, maybe them repackaging him, I'm good with that. But why have him lose to Riddick Moss? I mean, to me, that's not necessary.
I mean, it's twofold. One, there's no reason for him to win the 24/7 title, so it doesn't. Why have him in the match in the first place? I mean, you're wanting to put over Riddick Moss as trying to be a legit guy, so he beats somebody who matters. But same point. So why make it Ricochet? You can put it against pretty much almost anybody else. But the idea is, if you're trying to put a guy on maybe a losing streak where he changes his character, maybe it's a reason why he has a sharper edge, or he goes heel where he gets upset on the idea, maybe he's losing. But it's just like, I don't get it. I mean, like I said last week, I said maybe you have him turn heel and he get a match like an MVP where he becomes cocky. But if you're going to do that, just let's have this happen really fast. But, it brings up one of these things where all of these guys like a Cedric Alexander, Carrillo, who maybe be getting a second chance now, but Ricochet, they all reach a certain level where they face AJ Styles, and I'm hoping this isn't happening now with Aleister Black, where I just think where I hope there's a purpose. But everybody reaches AJ Styles, and then he's almost like the gatekeeper. They lose, and then it's just like the push is gone. And I'm not blaming AJ Styles, but it almost seems like you face AJ Styles and you hit a wall, and then you go back down the card. I don't know what it is, but it's almost like.
But I think Corey, the guys all have similar profiles. They're all really, really uber talented athletes, very good wrestlers who don't have much of a character.
And can't talk.
No, Angel Garza's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna have this problem. Andrade, although he can't talk either, he's got Zelina Vega, so he doesn't have that problem either. Rey Mysterio's a legend. Obviously, he doesn't have that problem. So, I mean, there's a reason why certain guys don't have that problem. Cedric Alexander, I love him too, but I mean, since his ROH days when Cedric Alexander was tagging with him and was really the guy who, or Cedric Coleman, sorry, was the one who he was tagging with him, and he was the one who really was the speaker. Or Caprice Coleman, I should say. Sorry about that. Caprice Coleman was the mic guy for the two of them, and they were a really, really good tag team, kind of like the Grizzled Young Veterans, where they have the one guy speaking for the tag team. So I don't know, Corey. I think it's hard. I mean,
Liverpool's number one. Yes.
Liverpool's number one, and soon to be the world's number one. I mean, do you have Ricochet and Cedric Alexander in a tag team? They don't have to talk much. Maybe you figure out some way to get their characters over in a tag team. Maybe you have to be a tag team. They need more tag team wrestlers. So why not have them in a tag team instead of just saying, "Oh, that's it. They're out like yesterday's news."
I think that we're gonna hopefully that Ricochet, Alexander, all these guys, maybe in their plans post WrestleMania, or we have a ladder match at WrestleMania for one of these secondary titles, and they get that big win, and we're all going, "Oh, we all overreacted, and Ricochet or one of these guys is fine." But I hope we're all wrong. And Ricochet, this is all part of his story, and MVP is his manager, and we're all fine. But
yeah, we'll see. But Ricochet's got to get better. They got to figure something out with him. For sure.
But let's quickly, Sunday, we have our 400th pay-per-view of the year. Feels like Elimination Chamber.
I swear to God, I didn't realize Elimination Chamber. They're like, on Raw, they're like, "Oh, Elimination Chamber is this Sunday." I'm like, what? I said this on Twitter, @WorkedShootPod. Like, this is the worst publicity that they've ever given a pay-per-view ever, right? Is this the worst job they've ever done of hyping a pay-per-view? Now, I understand they had to announce the Saudi pay-per-view too, so they have like 3 pay-per-views in a span of a month and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
Get how the Saudi one they really got to put over because you know how much money they're getting from them.
Exactly.
But man, this is the throwaway of pay-per-views.
All right.
Is there any result that's going to matter? We know who's going to win all these matches already. I don't even know what the matches are. I only know a couple of them, but
it's a good sign. So we're not going to go over them all. I mean, there aren't many, but
please don't.
So let's just be honest here. Is there any way that Shayna Baszler does not win the Elimination Chamber match?
No way.
Okay. Braun is facing 3 opponents. Do they take the title off him?
No.
There. Okay.
And I don't care.
All right. The other Elimination Chamber match, which is interesting, Miz and Morrison just won the titles. They're facing New Day, the Usos, Heavy Machinery, and Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode and Lucha House Party. Do they take the titles off of Miz and Morrison right away, or
No.
Okay. Do you think that leads though to most likely a 3-way at Mania between New Day and the Usos?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Because like I said, we're most likely going to get Otis versus Dolph at Mania with Mandy Rose or something. So
yeah.
Then we got
a pre-show match for sure.
like I said, I know you don't watch SmackDown, but that is actually one of the more entertaining things they've been doing on TV. Oh, and once again, congratulations to the Street Profits in Brooklyn winning the tag team titles, which was actually a nice moment. Street Profits versus Rollins and Murphy in the rematch. I can't see them winning the titles and then losing them, because it really sounds like the more important thing to WWE right now is Rollins versus Owens in some sort of stipulation match at WrestleMania, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they lose.
And I think that should be a fun match because, like I said, Montez Ford is spectacular and Dawkins is very big.
Yeah.
Third round.
Very big. It should be a good match. It should be fun. Three really good athletes and Dawkins.
Yes, exactly. Aleister Black versus AJ Styles in a no DQ match. In how long does it take Undertaker to appear and take 4 hours to get to the ring with the bad head?
Oh, that's going to be an interesting match at WrestleMania. No, I mean, AJ has to win, right? If he's going to go against the Undertaker. And we haven't talked about this, but what direction are they going for with Aleister Black? It seemed like they were really putting him over, but now he's, like you said, kind of the AJ Styles gatekeeper. What do they do with him? Does he get a chance at the U.S. title at some point?
I don't know.
I think maybe they're eventually prepping him for a world title match with Drew McIntyre, assuming he wins at WrestleMania, which I think he will. But where's he going to go until then? It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Aleister Black beat Eric Rowan to end that. Then we saw the mechanical, whatever the hell that disaster was, which we don't have to talk about. You know what? I guess Black maybe gets his win back because the Undertaker, does a distraction. I mean, is there any way they do smoke and mirrors and it's Black and Undertaker in a handicap match against the OC?
Oh, God. Oh, no. I mean, anything's possible with Vince, but God.
You think AJ just bumping for the Undertaker for 16 minutes is better? I mean,
listen, we talked about this when we did the show before. I think we should retire the Undertaker.
I don't disagree.
I think he should be. I love him. One of the all-time legends in the business, but I think we're done here. But we're not done. He's still collecting those big paychecks. God bless him. I don't hate on him for that. AJ might be able to carry him toward a good match. I think that would be, I don't know, whatever. I don't care about Undertaker versus AJ, so I would continue to not care about Black and Undertaker versus the OC.
All right, and our last match, apparently, at least on paper, Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo. They've had good matches in the past for the U.S. title. I don't see Andrade losing the title.
No, absolutely not. I think this sets up for Andrade against Mysterio at WrestleMania for the U.S. title. That's what I'm thinking.
You don't think Andrade maybe versus Black? Or do you think maybe we get a ladder match between, stick all these guys, Andrade, Black, Mysterio, Garza, stick all these high flyers in one match together? And
yeah, that could be fun. That could be fun too. I think Andrade is the champion going into WrestleMania, though.
Sure. That, at least on paper, that is our card. I mean, we always say that these things don't always look great, but somehow these shows wind up, being adequate to entertaining. So
adequate. I think it'll be not a bad show. I mean, the tag elimination match should be good. I think the women's match, although highly, not really much thought about what the outcome's going to be. We already know what the outcome's going to be. Highly predictable. I think that should be a match. I think Andrade Rio should be a fun match. I think the DQ match with AJ should be a fun match. So I think, the tag match should be good, the Raw tag match. So there's some good matches on the show. Like, it'll be a fun show to watch if you just want a good wrestling show on Sunday night. But the outcomes, what are we going to see?
I'm hoping it's a good show. Only thing I'm afraid of is I don't really expect much from this Black AJ match. I mean, on paper, it should be great.
Oh, I definitely think it's going to be a good match. They're going to beat the hell out of each other. They're both very good in the ring. I think it's going to be a really good match. Why wouldn't you think it'd be a good match?
Because since the Rumble, when AJ hurt himself, AJ hasn't really done in all the matches he's been in. It's been very limited, and I don't even know how healthy AJ really is. If you think about it, all of his matches, he's basically done very little. I mean, think about it. The amount that we've seen AJ, he's really been very limited, and you don't.
I don't think they put him in this spot. Why would they put him in this spot if he couldn't go?
I think they're trying. You don't think they might be protecting him and making him be as healthy as possible for the Undertaker match?
Well, then why put him in a no DQ match?
Because you have the OC there. Just you got to have the 3-on-1 stuff and make it a no DQ match, so the OC can be there to just basically do spots. I would think. I mean, hey, hopefully I'm wrong and you have a really good match, but I'm hoping.
I mean, listen, I get it's a pay-per-view they don't give a shit about. So I mean, but at all, it's I think if you're paying $60, they might do that at some point, and this is like a kind of souped raw, soup down type. Maybe this is more so you can do something. But I hate the idea of doing something where they do like the audience where AJ Baylor. I think that'd be terrible. But if he's hurt, they like him somehow. But putting him in a no match doesn't make sense to me.
Hey, we will see what happens. But last couple of things before we get out of here. We all rip on the idea of part-timers and everything else, but John Cena came back this past Friday. We spoke about it on our show last week on what happened when he did come back, with basically saying he wasn't going to be part of Mania. The Fiend pointing at the sign, and we have a WrestleMania match. But him coming back was the highest rated SmackDown of the year. So John Cena still equals ratings. What's your thoughts on Cena coming back, getting the highest rating of the year? He's back again this week, being part of the Funhouse. Do you think Cena coming back, basically, what do you think that means for Mania? Do you think that he's gonna? Do you think he might win now? Do you think that they'll?
Oh no, he's definitely not gonna win. But I mean, well, maybe I'm dismissing that out of hand. I don't see him beating a full-time talent, but Vince does what he wants to do. Do I care about the match? Not really, but I think a lot of WrestleMania isn't for the marks. It's not for us. So I think in terms of a business move, I think it's great. I think it's great Cena's back for WWE's business. I think it puts Wyatt in a big match without having to be for a title. I think we instantly forgot Wyatt was even champion in the first place because this is such a big match. So, yeah, it's a big match. I think it's a great idea by the WWE. If you're going to have Wyatt lose, it's a great opponent for him to go against at WrestleMania. And I think this is going to continue to bring strong ratings. I mean, Cena is a draw. Now he's kind of a movie star with mostly bad movies, but he's kind of a movie star now, right? So, yeah, he's big box office business for the WWE, and it's a good move by them for sure. But I don't see him winning because he wins and then he's going to be gone for months. But we've talked about this before. The idea of part-timers is one thing, but Vince loves putting these part-timers over full-time guys. So that is a slight concern for sure.
I agree. Like I said, it was a good sign for SmackDown having a good rating going into WrestleMania season. We'll see what they do over the next couple of weeks.
SmackDown's done pretty solid in the ratings. I mean, the Friday night show that is honestly pretty bad most weeks. They've done a good job with these ratings for the most part on Friday nights. And Friday night's a hard time slot too. So
yeah, most people go out, especially the younger demographic go out. So like I said, we'll see how that continues into WrestleMania. Jay, you want to let people know how they can follow the show on Twitter and everything else?
Yeah, we're at Work Shoot Pod. We're still working on getting ourselves on a bunch of different platforms for you to listen to us. So I know Corey's been working on that, so we'll let you talk about that. But yeah, we're at Work Shoot Pod. I tweeted a lot about Super Tuesday. I thought the results were very, very interesting for you guys who are politically inclined. Did live tweet Revolution for the most part, and maybe I'll live tweet Elimination Chamber, but I don't see myself watching that whole show live, so we'll see. But yeah, I definitely plan on being more active on Twitter, maybe talking about my adventures on the Red Line. For people who don't know, the Red Line is like one of the trains in Chicago, and it's always got like random bums and weirdos on it. So every now and then I might tweet about them as well. So I'll try to be a little bit more active on Twitter at @WorkedShootPod.
And of course, check out our other podcasts on the FAMDU network. Jackie Podcast. You don't know Jackie. Want to quickly wish our music producer on that show, James Burden, a happy birthday, and continue, of course, the great work. Check him out at No Burden Music. We will be back, of course, next week, Thursday, for another new episode 200 of the podcast. We did 197 of these in about 4 years. Only took 2 years to get to the final 3 of them.
Yeah, we did a bunch, and now we're doing 1 a year. So there you go.
1 a year. But before we do call it a day, just came out a couple hours ago on 316. Steve Austin will be on the show. Another ratings ploy to get people to care. 316 Austin, Mr. 316 being out there. He was a ratings drawer the last couple times he's been there.
Always is.
Do you care, unless he actually, which I wouldn't have, if I were him, never getting out there wrestling again, unless he actually does wrestle again, do you care that he's out there? I mean, he's still one of the greatest.
Maybe he can be Ricochet's manager. I don't know. Speaking of Austin, I do want to talk about Adam Page maybe next week, because I think what they're doing with his character and what he's becoming is really fascinating, Corey. I mean, the drinking beer and not giving a shit about anybody and kind of forging his own path. It's very, very Austin-like. But in terms of the actual real Steve Austin, I don't give a shit. I mean, it's great to have him. He's fun. I watch Raw every week, so when he's going to be on the TV, it's like The Rock. Like, he's fun to watch for sure. So I'll definitely watch him, and I'm sure he'll put over one of the matches. And but do I I'd love to see him compete, obviously, but that's not something that he's able to do physically anymore. But yeah, no, I think it'll be entertaining. He's an entertaining guy. He'll put over his many shows, his horrible beer, so we'll see what happens.
It's funny, as before we get out of here, the one thing we did forget to talk about, like the most important thing that AEW mostly did all weekend, they crowned a new champion. We never even mentioned Jon Moxley won the title.
Congratulations, Moxley.
Well, we'll see what new direction they go with Jon Moxley going forward. Jericho was a very good champion. We'll see what happens.
Not like Jericho's like, I'm still calling myself the champion. He's like, I'm still calling myself the champion. And we didn't. I mean, there was a lot to talk about this week. Corey wanted to talk about Ring of Honor for some reason, but the other thing I want to mention is AEW had a hell of a pay-per-view. They had a good show. The tag match was amazing. I thought the world title match was fun. The Orange Cassidy match was good. It was a good show. It really was. And I think AEW is building a lot of momentum here, Corey. They really are. Yeah. Now they're talking about being 3 hours, but I know. But with the roster they're building, they're gonna have to figure out how to get everybody on. And when you have, segments with when you have Jericho having 3 segments every week, which he should because he's a legend. When you have Jericho having 3 segments every week, that takes time away from other guys. I mean, so eventually they're gonna have to figure that part out. Like Private Party, we haven't seen them in a long time. So they actually might have the roster to have a 3-hour show, to be honest. But they're gonna have to really, really figure that out. But they're really, really building some momentum. They really are.
All right, and like I always say, thank you as always for joining us. You can check me out at Paladin808. And Jason, as always, the floor is yours.
I think we're done here. See ya.